Hello, everyone. I have a very special guest today. You should have seen him before on my channel, and if you haven't, he's all over the Bay Area sports scene right now. Dr. Nirav Pandya, you could hear him on 95.7. Where else are you currently working?
I do a lot of freelance media stuff. The TV stations will kind of pick me up, but most importantly, I am an orthopedic surgeon and I work at UCSF, so that is my full-time job. But definitely, a lot of people hear me on Twitter, Instagrams, social media, doing my thing, talking about injuries.
Absolutely. And I wanted to go to you because the Niners have two really big ones right now, and I don't think fans really understand what to expect. So they're both ankle injuries, but they're different. Let's start with Trey Lance's ankle injury. It's a broken ankle plus two torn ligaments, a deltoid, which I didn't know was in an ankle, and a sesamoid, which sounds like something on Sesame Street. How serious is it?
So this is, a lot of different things going on with that ankle, but it's a pretty common type of injury we see when someone breaks their ankle. So you imagine ankle kind of twists, goes out of joint. So either bones or ligaments are going to fail. So most commonly you break your fibula on the outside, most common garden variety bone that gets broken. But then if the force keeps going, you kind of saw Trey Lance's ankle kind of get twisted around and potentially even come out of joint, then the ligaments are going to fail. So the ligament that's on the inside part of the ankle, that's your deltoid ligament. So most people, when they sprain their ankle, it's on the outside. The deltoid, which also the muscle on the shoulder, is a ligament on the inside, similar to what Dak Prescott also had, in terms of his break. And what actually, I think it was Ian Rappaport said sesamoid. He actually meant syndesmosis. I think he corrected that. So the syndesmosis is actually the high ankle ligament. So that's basically the connection between the two bones. So bone on the outside breaks, ligament on the inside kind of tears. And then if it's really bad, then the two bones, the tibia and your fibula, which are your two bones in your lower leg, they separate out. And that's a syndesmotic ligament. So a lot of different things going on, but a very kind of straightforward ankle injury we see. It just sounds really bad when you hear the reports.
So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is it's fairly typical with a broken ankle, these
Exactly.
two ligament injuries. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay. And so the Niners have said 4 to 6 months recovery time. Is that fairly typical?
Yeah, there was a study that looked at all these ankle injuries, and they said that in general, most of these players kind of ended up with this kind of injury right around 130, 140 days out. So that puts you right in that 4 to 5 month time frame. Then you take into consideration where that would land him in the season, come January, middle of January. So that pretty much rules him out for the season. But there's nothing atypical in terms of that 4 to 6 month recovery. That's pretty much on board with what you see with these.
And for this injury, it looked gruesome. But in terms of the recovery, he's a young guy. Is the expectation that he'll regain all the mobility and flexibility that he had beforehand?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The main concern is the mobility and the strength. With Prescott, which was the similar kind of injury, but his bone came out of the skin. So much bigger deal, bigger risk of infection. But with Trey, the bone's going to heal, his ligaments are going to heal. I think the biggest unpredictable factor is not necessarily strength and mobility, it's confidence, right? So you get this big surgery done. Are you going to how comfortable is he going to be having Lyman fall at his leg, come out of the pocket? So that's the biggest thing we don't know. And that's the biggest thing that could potentially impact his performance next year is how is he ready to kind of take that force on it and be back playing at that level, particularly as a mobile quarterback.
And I guess like a meta level to that, which isn't really an injury thing, but is Kyle Shanahan's confidence. I mean, he was real confident running in between the tackles before the ankle break. Afterwards, he defended the decision, but it's really interesting to see, do you go back to that play? Because it's not really a medical decision, but that's just sort of, do you go back to that? I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see how Kyle uses Trey going forward.
Yeah, and I think, there's this conversation about running quarterbacks and do they get more injured? I mean, in general, we know if you run between the tackles, you're probably going to get tackled. And the more you get tackled, the more likely you're going to get hurt. So, if a running quarterback is great and they avoid contact, they're not going to get injured. But if you can't avoid that contact and if you're in between the tackles, you're going to get hit. There's that risk. So absolutely. Yeah.
So it sounds like, although it was gruesome, I really don't like watching injuries like this. I didn't even look. I can't do it. Like the Paul George, I don't like doing it, but it sounds like could have been worse. Could have been a knee.
Oh.
Yeah. Could have been worse.
Yeah. I think if we talk about knee, you're talking about stuff coming out through the skin, absolutely worse. Like this looks horrible on the field, but it's pretty predictable how people are going to come back from this. Yeah.
Okay. So that's encouraging. That's promising.